taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
All right, everybody. So, scientists have now proven that there is an alternate universe in which EA owns Bethesda, and where we're buying dog meat armor for microtransactions in Fallout 4, and horse armor in Skyrim, and cats are eating dog food. Proven by science, at least if you subscribe to the idea that every possible eventuality exists in some alternate universe, then there is a universe where we're suffering through that reality. Thankfully, that's not this universe.
That theory's bunk, right? Like it's literally makes no sense whatsoever.
Well,
I know all you Rick and Morty fans. I am one of you, but that's it's not how the math works. I hate to break it to you, but yeah, that's not how.
I don't want to get into it, but anyway, yeah. So you are listening to the Augmented Reality podcast, and where that's going to be one of our topics today. We've learned that EA was at one point poised to potentially buy Bethesda. We've also got a number of other things to talk about. Activision is continuing to eat away at Blizzard, just eroding everything that company is. We've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, Genshin Impact, and Star Wars Squadrons this week. We're going to give you our impressions on all of those. Yes, you heard the pupper in the background. Another update, Saib's dogs might be a little more active than usual because they just had puppies, and that's pretty exciting. We know that many of you will remember Cyberpup, poor puppy, back in was it last winter, I believe? Anyway, that his dogs had, and he didn't even know the pup was coming, and sadly that one didn't make it. But these mom and dad now have two brand new puppies, and it sounds like they're doing much better than poor Cyberpups. So that's exciting. I'm sure Cyber will share more as soon as his dogs calm down. Anyway, you are listening to the Augmented Reality podcast, as I was saying, and if you are listening live today, please do say hello in the live chat and send us your questions and comments there as well. We'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast, and don't forget to slam that like button to tell us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. By the way, we'll also be talking about the rumored Mass Effect Trilogy remaster and whether or not there's any truth to that rumor. Still not officially confirmed.
Yeah, not officially confirmed, and hopefully I'll be able to get into it here a little bit. You might be hearing the pups in the background just a little bit. So yeah, no, it was last fall. She only had one. It was very, very tiny. That's why I didn't know. She didn't produce any milk, and feeding by hand was extremely difficult. Things are much better this time. She's much calmer, and everything's going great. The pups are all well fed. One of them, those teacups that your grandma used to have. I'm saying grandma in the general sense.
Those little tiny porcelain teacups that
everybody's
grandma has. Yeah.
Yes, that everybody's grandmother had. One of the pups would fit inside one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And easily, like, you could turn the cup over and put it over the pup, and she would just be inside. So we're talking smaller than most mice are. This is a tiny, tiny pup. I'm very worried about her. I'm very concerned. I have the flu as well, so there's that. So it's been, thankfully, it's a kind of a stomach buggy thing. So I other than being basically linked via like a 20-foot radius to a bathroom, everything is going great, just wonderful. So yes, it's been a harrowing last 2 days. Oh my!
Mm-hmm. But you have had Baldur's Gate 3 to keep you company.
Yes, yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 and Genshin Impact, which is really starting to tear up the charts. And I have not been suggested game stream feeds on YouTube ever. Like, I've had to always search them out, even our own. Like, they just don't pop up when we're streaming a game. But Lord, it's everywhere. I pulled it up today, and I had 3 stream recommendations for YouTube Genshin Impact streams, which were averaging about 5,000 viewers. And I'm like, what? Wow. Holy crap. So the game is wildly popular. Basically, and this really, I'm going to knock Nintendo here. The game is wildly popular for the number one reason is that it's basically Breath of the Wild. And it is this beautiful open world that has so many challenges and tricks and nifty little things to do. Really puzzles that make you think, but not make you think enough to pull up a guide video for it. So it's really nice to have that, and it's really nice to have something that you'll actually, that you could find it if you Googled it, but that if you just actually like put some thought into it, you'd actually figure it out in about the same amount of time. And so that's one of the reasons why it's doing really well. And why did I say Nintendo? Much to the chagrin of Nintendo. Nintendo should have released Breath of the Wild onto the PC ages ago. Probably launched it on the consoles as well. Probably given it a number of giving you the chance to play as Zelda or Link. And then just really opened up the game and just got it out there into people's hands, but they didn't. And now this game has come along, and this game has shown a lot of developers that they can take on the big dogs with essentially a very little effort. Little effort as in like, this is a small studio, guys. This studio is tiny. It's so tiny that their previous game was Hanokai Impact, I believe it was called. It was kind of like it was like a room battler, and it had a bunch of like waifus as well. This engine was, get this engine was built in Unity in 2.5 years. This game was built in Unity in 2.5 years. Now, if you're not
that's pretty impressive, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly impressive. So yeah, this is really quite amazing. It's essentially self-published, so they're skipping a publisher as well. They're really doing quite well, and I've got to say that it's interesting to see this. Now, this is a Chinese company that seems to be somewhat well connected to Hong Kong, or at least the freer side of the Chinese mind sinks. Now, this success is going to net them some interest by the party, but and hopefully that won't taint them. It is a microtransaction game, and I really do have to stress, you do not need to buy microtransactions. And in fact, I kind of wish that they would give you the option to just request that you not have the ability to. Or maybe I would love an option where it signs you up like, hey, this is a gacha game. We can lock the account that you're making into a subscription model only for like $7 a month. And I honestly think that would be a brilliant move on this case, because then that would actually keep the challenge there of like trying to chase after some of the gacha things by the grind. I highly recommend, do not spend money on this game. You'll see YouTubers and people doing that, and most of the YouTubers and content creators, I mean, that's a tax write-off for them, and it also gets them a lot of content. So I would highly recommend you don't do that. But check the game out, because it is gorgeous and beautiful, and it's everything that Zelda should have been available on every platform. Why they don't release old games on, like, they're really old games, like the fact that we have have we ever seen a series of, like, I know that they put out the packs a little while ago, but we've never seen some of their old favorites come onto like updated hardware or like updated software that you can play on any hardware, even though we know it's completely capable, because people are playing Breath of the Wild on the PC, but it's via an emulator and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, you can emulate it,
and it's
very easily.
And if you ever get caught in legal hot water, you'd be in trouble. Somewhat. It's debatable, right? It's still illegal. Don't do it. But and this is my point: is like Nintendo is literally leaving large amounts of money just nowhere, and just like hey, we have a gold mine over here, and we could mine this, and we could do it fairly responsibly and build our brand up at the same time. But no, let's refuse. No, we refuse. Why? It doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of why I brought it up. That and I know a couple people in the community who started to pick it up. If you guys are interested in playing this a little bit more, hit me up. You can request my gamer ID in the Discord, and I'll share it, and then we can start to do some group content together and see how the co-op feels. It is honestly a very fun game.
Do you have any idea how big the team is who worked on this game? I just was trying to look it up while you were talking there, but didn't find anything.
It's MIHOYO. And as far as I know, it's so their slogan is great. It says tech otakus save the world. An otaku is, for those of you who don't know, an otaku is somebody who's super into anime culture. So this is why this is not a company that's been beholden to a party, let's just say. So because they're openly embracing the anime Japanese-esque style, and they self-refer to themselves as otakus, which is a Japanese word. It's not a Chinese word. So this is great. This is great. This is really good, and really like where they're headed. So
true. Now, yes, I mean, as Creature Kobe points out, it is a gacha game, but as you've pointed out, there's no point where you've really, and you've been playing it for hours and hours, and you have not hit any kind of a paywall yet.
So. Not really, but I did spend some money on it. So,
well, you just told everybody not to do that. What?
No, sorry, I should clarify. I spent about as much money on it as I would spend on any collector's edition for any other game. So that's usually where I go when it comes to playing or doing games on that level. So yeah. So, and I feel that that's fine, and I would like to lock myself out of making any further purchases.
Okay, but you did that out of your own volition, and it's not like you felt like you had to do that to enjoy the game, correct? I mean, let's be clear here.
So what? Sorry?
Like, you didn't do that because you felt manipulated into it by the game.
No, I really wanted a particular character. And I was like, all right, well, I would spend. I've done other like mobile games before where I'll say, $70, $60, like that's your one-time fee, and then done, and then I never roll again. And that's what my intent is here with this one. They do have a fairly decent. So they got a 1 month recurring thing where it's $7, and I mean I spend almost $20 on a WoW subscription a month. So $7 a month is like, you could look at it if you think it's worth it. It's definitely like very worth it, but it's like you'd only do that if you're actually actively playing the game every single day. And then they also have a battle pass, and I'm not a big fan of battle passes at all. I really don't like them. Battle passes I really feel that they're not great, but they're also not manipulative, right? You only buy a battle pass once, essentially, unless you're buying levels, which in that case you're paying to not play the game. That's shocking. It's truly shocking. I'm giving it an honest go, though, and I'm going to let everybody know exactly where it stands as far as both money and then the review. I'm going to do a review hopefully later this week or next week, because this is Canadian Thanksgiving. But I will be playing this and streaming it on Saturday-ish. And then I'll also be doing a little bit more Baldur's Gate. So yeah, so that's where that is. Let's move on to Baldur's Gate now. All
right, for sure. The Baldur's Gate 3 early access as of a couple days ago.
As of yesterday morning.
Sorry, you're correct. And you spent a bunch of time streaming it on our channel yesterday. So there's a 4.5-hour stream that you can go watch if you are curious about it. Those of you in the audience.
It was brutal, man. There were some fights that just like I opened a door once and got murdered almost instantly. I was like, all right, well, don't open random doors in dungeons. That's probably a good thing. There's a couple of qualms, and I'll do the downsides first. There's no fog of war on the physical map itself, like on the map that you can like move your camera around in. And so you can pan around and you can get the lay of the land, the geography, without having discovered that. In the open world, there's the big map world and the overworld where you're running around all over everything. And that map has a fog of war. So I can open up the map and see, where I am locally, but I can't physically like move the camera over and see all the geography of everything. But I can, when I'm focused on the character, I can move around that camera.
So you just pan the camera infinitely.
No, you have a limit. You have
or
a
it's
limitation
limited, but it's
to how far away it is from your characters.
Right.
But if you're in a dungeon, you basically can like peruse pretty much most of it.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a downside that I have for it right away. But this is something that may actually be fixable this is early access. Can't stress that enough. Early access means that things are not going to be perfect. And you're going to encounter some bugs. Number of times I crashed yesterday, 0. Crashed 0 times. I did encounter a loot bug where I killed an NPC and they went flying to basically infinity, and I never got to loot their body. So
that's sad. They went to that alternate universe where EA owns Bethesda.
They just how sometimes when you're playing with like a ragdoll feature, the thing will just go flying.
Yeah.
And you'll just like tumble and they're just like, wigging out all over the place. Yeah, it was that.
That's a feature in Fall Guys.
Yeah.
You try to use the hammers and stuff to send yourself over the... I almost did that yesterday. I got bashed by a huge hammer and flew across half the map. I wish I had had a recording of that, but...
Yeah, anyway. Stick the landing perfectly. So there's one or two small things like that did cause me to reload. There's a handful of other minor bugs that can happen here or there. So basically save often and don't feel bad about save scumming. Because it's really like, again, it's early, but oh wow, does it have a lot of potential? And this is my first reaction. I had to reload or basically redo my character, so I've only been able to catch up to where I left off yesterday, roughly speaking. So there's not even I haven't even gotten as far as. So there's some really great encounters. The dialogue and the recording are amazing. Like everything that you're doing within the game is just beautiful, and it's honestly an absolute ton of fun. They don't have all of the classes in yet. The races and how you make them are pretty extensive. They don't have like a custom height or body type or build or a handful of other things. They don't have those things in the game. So they don't have the ability to play or to customize your character in other cooler ways that most people might expect. You don't have a body slider. You can't adjust proportions on bodies, that kind of stuff. That's again another kind of downside. I did kind of hope that they would have revamped that character creator a little bit.
Still, the character creation looked amazing.
The
character designs that you can create in that are phenomenal.
You have a limited number of faces to use and a limited number of a couple other things, but in all, the character creation offers you in the form of like role play, story building, and background extensively. And I totally missed it on yesterday's stream. There was a whole window that I totally missed with background stuff, and you can select your background as well as selecting your overall story.
Right, but the faces that they included as your base faces are all very attractive, very good looking. As I was watching the stream, as you did your character creation, and I was thinking, and I made a joke in the chat that I don't think you got, but I was like, Larian can pull this off with a studio of their size. And yet, you look back at Mass Effect Andromeda or another EA game that we're going to talk about in a minute, and, it's like they sat down in a boardroom and were like, I've got an idea, guys. Let's make every character look like their face got stepped on by an elephant. And that'll be all of the characters in our character creator.
Yeah.
Because, that's what people want in their fantasy game. Like, give me a break, man.
It's truly really fascinating. So you not only make your character, when you're done making your character and you're like, I am ready, let us venture forth, it pulls you to another screen and says, and now tell me, who do you dream of at night?
Yeah, that was funny. So you actually,
and
there's another
like,
creator for like the type of character that your character is attracted to.
Yeah,
that's
I have not discovered yet where that leads to. I made a character from my book, which was pretty close actually. Like facial features, general look, style, pretty darn close. So that was very very good, and I did like that quite a bit. So yeah, overall great. Like more than just great. The game is looking absolutely 100% rock solid.
And how was the combat and stuff? All of the actual
very good, very
and all that.
Very D&D like actually. Now some people say, "Oh no, it's basically like Divinity." Divinity was based on D&D, so yes, of course they're going to have a lot of similarities. But when doing this is very much like an actual D&D game, and you take it to the turn, and you can clearly also do rolls and stuff like that. You can track all of that stuff in the chat window. I didn't pull it up during the stream, which was, I don't know if I might have. I can't remember when I pulled it up, but I did pull it up later on. And so they do have a window that tracks all of your rolls, so you can actually see how your rolls are doing. You can see the readout of the hits versus the misses and stuff like that. And then the surprise stuff. Oh my, the surprise stuff. Yesterday we were doing one thing, and we came across a particular event, and I was like, aha, I'm going to use my intelligence. And she rolled a 2, because of course, when she needed like an 11 or a 10 or something like that to pass the check. And I was like, well, that sucks. So on my second playthrough, I was doing it, and I successfully rolled higher than 11. I was like, yes, cool. And then I'm like, oh, wait, the story just went down a different direction because I succeeded the roll, because I had succeeded where I had failed before. And then suddenly I was in a life and death struggle to do another roll. And I failed that one and immediately was annihilated in a pretty spectacular fashion. I'm really annoyed that I didn't get that on camera, but save, I can't stress this enough, save often, save very often. There's some decisions that you can make that will definitely end up in your death. So
do they have any kind of autosave?
They do have an autosave feature. They've got a pretty extensive one. You can choose how many autosaves you have, roughly when it autosaves or how often it autosaves. It is a little bit bugged, as we discovered yesterday. It did not autosave after I moved around the map and did some other stuff. It didn't autosave as much as I thought it did, and it did set us back an entire area. So we just, when I loaded up, we just went in a different direction. So there is some of those issues. Again, very early on, the game is looking great, but once again, the base release, the base story, the events, that's just icing on the cake. The actual cake is the fact that we finally have an actual D&D tabletop party experience replicator that you can use. It's not 100% yet. The multiplayer is not quite up to that snuff level yet, but we give it a year and a half, and we are going to get some amazing stuff. when the game releases. It's going to be great. Just seeing what they have right now, and then just wait until the modders get in, start building new tile sets, start building new locations, start building new sets, and then the people. So I did some stuff in Divinity, and Divinity had some great stuff where, again, modders created tile sets, new locations, new stuff for you to do, new things for you to do, and then they tweaked it and gave it. Then they gave you the option and the ability to do different events with your players, and so the GM could do a whole bunch of different stuff all at once. And so that was truly, 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 truly amazing.
All right. First impressions of Baldur's Gate 3 right here. And so Saib will be streaming it some more in the very near future, also streaming some Genshin Impact. You are listening to the Augmented Reality podcast. And we're glad to see all of the conversation in the live chat. It's a little less than normal today, but that's okay. Busy week for everybody. But we're glad you're here, everybody who is here. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live podcast, you can check out our Discord server. That's a place where you can chat with us. You can chat with a whole bunch of awesome Triple S community members. They call themselves the Triple S Legion. It's a fun place. Stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. There are people doing live streams very often in the server. You can do that on Discord now. You can live stream in the voice rooms. So if you, want to just stream your game to a few friends, you can do that. Side streams fairly regularly in there, and I do occasionally as well. And Robin points out a few folks are working. Yeah, Wednesdays are always a little more volatile. And anyway, click the link below to join. Be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel there on the Discord. And quick programming note, we will not be having a normal podcast on Saturday. But Saib will be streaming that day. It is Canadian Thanksgiving. I'll be out of town. Saib will be around. Though there will be some casual live streams this Saturday, but no ordinary Augmented Reality podcast as we usually do. Next one will be next Wednesday, live right here on the Triple S League. And are you doing the Cyberpunk 2077 community podcast on Sunday? Saib, is that still going ahead?
We are. I probably won't be there. It will be there. They'll be doing a European one.
I caught you at a bad time there. The dogs are.
Yes, very acting up.
All right. Well, I'll let you take care of that. I'll just carry on my end, and it's actually perfect timing for that because we're going to talk about the game I've been playing this week just a little bit. We're going to talk about it just a little bit. I've actually been playing it quite a lot. Star Wars Squadrons. New title from EA, and so this is an interesting one. Now, if you were around last year, you heard my thoughts on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I really liked that game. I thought it was a good move on behalf of EA to really listen to what the devs at Respawn wanted to do with that game. Star Wars Squadrons is a bit of a different animal. I still feel like it is a step in the right direction. I wish that they would stop taking baby steps and do a full-on leap in the right direction. That would be very helpful. That would be very appreciated by those of us who, really like Star Wars and really like Star Wars video games. These have been a ton of my gaming past has been Star Wars games. So I produced a full review for Star Wars Squadrons. That'll be out either tonight or tomorrow morning at the absolute latest. The video's ready, just need to get it up online. But quick overview of my thoughts on it. The core gameplay, the part where you're actually flying your ship, shooting stuff, and also, customizing the loadout for your ship, doing the missions, that kind of a thing. Very solid, really solid gameplay, really enjoying it. Controls take some getting used to. If you use a throttle and stick setup, the support for that right now is not great. I'll warn you about that. I've been reading that all over the place online. Support for the throttle and stick controls is not great. So I'm hoping that they patch that for those of you who use that if you're interested in that game. But you can use a normal gamepad, or you can use a mouse and keyboard if you're on PC. And anyway, I'm having a ton of fun with the actual gameplay in that game. Flying around, it just feels so Star Wars. It's like my childhood fantasy, come to life. It's with graphics that are almost photorealistic now.
And how was the gameplay? Was it X-Wing versus TIE Fighter like, or was it more arcadey?
I don't know how to answer that question. I'll just say that I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It has been too long since I played sort of the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter type games. So but it's in that same vein. But I don't really know how to answer that question. But that's a like the joysticks we had when I was a kid. That came with like 15 different buttons, a rotatable like cap target buttons, like it's like a little miniature thumbstick at the top of the joystick, 2 or 3 different triggers, several side buttons, and then you had like often on the really good ones you had throttle control on the base unit, on the base of the unit had a little like platform thing, and you'd have several buttons there, and then you'd have secondary control things there for speed and tilt and shields and a whole bunch of other stuff, and that you could just map all those keys. And man, I went and did some like LAN games where we did like versus fighters, and it's like there's not even like with mouse and keyboard, not even a comparison. Well, I'm actually
it's like somebody with a mouse and keyboard versus like somebody with a controller. It's like you mop the floor with them. Like you're several levels of skill higher than somebody who's using a controller. For most games, there's a handful of games that it's actually better to have a controller. But then this case, it goes down that road again, where if you have a peak controller that's like perfect, and again, I don't even think they make them anymore. I think there's a handful of them, but I think overall they don't make them for what that type of game that I remember growing up with, like the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, the Wing Commander series, and all those. It's like the Descent. Oh man, Descent was like, it was one thing to do Descent normally. It was a totally different experience when you were doing Descent with a one, or get this, 2 joysticks at the same time. Like, you can't. It's like, wow, you can't even. It's the experience is just so different than that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's crazy.
Honestly, with how I've been enjoying this one, I've been tempted to possibly pick up a throttle and stick setup to get that joystick style experience that you're talking about. I've never actually used one of, like, I've used a joystick, obviously. I've never used one of the fancy throttle and stick setups. But apparently, again, I have to reemphasize that the game does have problems with supporting that right now. Apparently, there's a huge issue with the dead zone on the stick. That's makes it incredibly sluggish. So, I would definitely wait for them to patch that before diving into it with that. But so, core gameplay aside, the core gameplay systems really good, but there are some problems. I am disappointed with the lack of content in this game. For a while, I felt like I was playing an early access title. There are only 2 multiplayer game modes, and they have no options. You just no options for team sizes or victory conditions, anything like that. You can't even choose the map. You get dropped in randomly, and there are only 6 maps. So I was disappointed with that. It's still fun. I'm thinking, for the price I paid for this game, I want more options. And they also have their Fleet Battles game, which is fun. I haven't done that one online yet, but I've played it versus AI. It's an interesting concept, but again, it's more like a squadron skirmish than a fleet battle. You got one capital ship and then a couple of defensive like frigates and then fighters. It's not a. Why not a fleet of like 5 Star Destroyers versus 5 of, whatever the rebel capital ships are. I'm sure that they're at a point where they could handle that. But yeah, 10 players per game, it's pretty narrow. And so from that perspective, I was like, well, is this really worth the price? Now, there is a single-player campaign. It's decent enough in terms of like the style of the missions and things like that. Some have referred to it as a glorified tutorial. It does have tutorial elements throughout. I actually thought that the missions held up pretty well, but it is fairly short. It's about a 6 to 8 hour experience. So bear that in mind. So as you'll hear in the review that I'm putting out, this is not a game at its full price. Don't buy it for the single player experience. Especially considering not just the length, but the characters, the story. I mean, the story's okay, but the characters are not well done. Let's put it that way. Dialogue with the characters, because you spend time, in the hangars and on the ship, and you can talk to various characters, but it's basically just them standing on the screen and talking to you. There's no dialogue interaction. There's nothing. You're just listening to them talk, and the acting's not that great, to be perfectly honest. There's a character creator. It's a waste of time. The characters, as I said, let's make everybody look like their face got stepped on, and I think Shua or somebody added in, don't forget the hammer. They got hit with a hammer. The characters got beaten with an ugly stick, and there's only human characters initially. So I was like, did they forget this was Star Wars? Like, where are the aliens at? Now, I found out later that you can unlock some alien heads later on, with some of the currency that you earn through gameplay. But I only saw 4 options for alien heads. So I was like, this is a waste of time. What's the point of this character creator? All the characters are ugly, except for one that was moderately cute. Of course, that's the one I picked. And has to be human. There's no customization at all. You get to pick a bunch of voices, all of which are really annoying. I was like, come on. You can do better than this. And it's disappointing because, like I said, the core gameplay, the actual ship flying and combat, I'm actually having a lot of fun with.
This really boils down to one of our next topics, which is why some developer or why some publisher studios, like EA is a publisher and a studio at the same time. So is Activision, right? Why do some of these companies have games that are their core audience? It's the only reason why they make money, and they treat it like it's a hassle. And this experience and this thing is really what drives Activision, which is kind of our next story.
Just before we get onto that, I want to read this comment from Tara K. He says, my issues lately are, even if the last couple of EA Star Wars games are technically good, I'm a strict original trilogy only guy. Old Republic is an exception, and the newer games tie into the Disney crap. Fair enough. Squadrons, and this is one of the things I like about it, Squadrons is set in the original trilogy era, and also in the era of the Thrawn trilogy and the Timothy Zahn books that are no longer canon, but they chronicled what happened after Return of the Jedi. So it's that era. So it takes place like very shortly after the Battle of Endor. So I like that. Yeah. It feels like original trilogy Star Wars. So I did appreciate that. That's another count in its favor. But I do have to balance these two elements because they nailed the actual gameplay, but the all the stuff surrounding it is severely lacking. So that's why I would say, proceed with caution if you want to pick up this game. If you absolutely love Star Wars and or these combat flight, space combat games, you might want to pick it up, but only do it if you like multiplayer at this point. If you want to play through the single player campaign, be prepared for some cringe with the acting and wait till the game's on sale. It's for the current price, I can't recommend it. I'm enjoying the campaign, but I can't recommend it at the current price. But having picked it up because with the intention of reviewing it, I am having fun with it. So I'm a little torn with this one. So I wish the game was like $15 to $20 so I could tell people, yes, go buy it. It's a lot, you'll have a blast with it for at least 6 to 8 hours, maybe play some multiplayer, so you'd get at least like 10 to 12 hours out of it or more, but at the current price, can't recommend that. So, Robin Green says that may change it. If they're throwing out this... Oh, I see what you're referring to there. Speaking of change, though, I mean, my hope is that they add more content to this, but I haven't been able to find anything concrete on that. So anyway, we are coming into the last quarter of the show, so yes, we should move on to our next topic about Activision Blizzard.
Yeah. So Activision Blizzard is... I mean, they are doing some they are moving in on Blizzard hard. The Blizzard that we knew growing up as kids is in the middle of dying. It's been dying for a while. It was threatened for a while. But with the founders leaving and basically starting up a new company, they've been taking people from the studio like crazy. This goes doubly the same for EA, for certain studios within EA, specifically BioWare, which is where we'll talk about next very quickly. They have the same problem, and that is that they are losing people faster than they can replace them. They are losing people faster than they can replace them because they simply are, Blizzard fired 800 people. Then they immediately posted pretty much all of those jobs again, but doubled up the work that they were expected to do, and doubled up the scope at which they were supposed to work. So you were expected to
probably pay them less because they're
hiring
less experienced
yes,
people.
Exactly. They're also, the pay on them also went down. So this is a huge problem that a lot of these studios have, and it ties into what I was saying just a few moments ago. The insanity, the absolute abject insanity of these companies taking their primary forms of income. For Activision Blizzard, it's World of Warcraft, and giving them skeleton crews to run the game on is the dumbest move I can see anybody doing. It's like if pick your favorite like ketchup brand. If your favorite ketchup brand suddenly announced that they were also making shoes, and that they've diverted 90% of their resources and especially their customer satisfaction, people who test the product, make sure it's good, and they've moved them all over to making shoes. Buy our new shoes, guys. Shoes are the market to go in. And their ketchup just goes from tasting like, your favorite brand of ketchup to tasting like garbage. And then you start finding like bits of like sand or pebbles or rocks or strips of like plants or something in it. You're going to suddenly go, no, thank you. I am done with this company. And then they're just sitting there going, I don't understand, guys. Why are we losing money? I don't know. Maybe because you're diverting all of the best people that you have, the thing that's making you the most amount of money, all of the skill, all of the experience, all of that kind of stuff. You're just moving it away. You're just transferring it to a completely different department. And like an absolute idiot, they think this is a good idea. And I cannot believe the incompetency and the stupidity here. It's truly shocking what Activision Blizzard is doing to Blizzard. And we know now that they're doing it for sure.
Yes.
And it's very, very shocking. And I am very, very concerned for everybody there, as well as our childhood favorite games growing up. We're seeing like Reforged Warcraft 3 was just abominable. And we're seeing the same thing. And now they are struggling on the inside. They are really struggling on the inside. But today or yesterday, they announced that they're closing one of their major Blizzard French studios, which handled a lot of European stuff. And they transferred most of them over to Activision Blizzard, and then replaced a bunch of their jobs with Activision Blizzard employees.
Well, that was their plan. I mean, they according to the reporting here coming out today, they are closing their office in Versailles, which employs about 400 people. And they had now before the world situation that we can't mention on YouTube, involving a particular virus, their plan was to relocate about half of the staff from Versailles to the Activision Blizzard office in London. That's been halted because of Brexit and also the other situation that's going on. So currently, but now they have officially announced they are closing that Versailles studio, and employees have been told they'll be receiving more information in the next week or so.
Yeah. So it's a scaling problem. We are seeing literally not a hostile takeover, but we're seeing the slow deterioration. It's like watching like the Borg infect a planet or something like that. It's like well, it was going to be great and now it's not, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So yeah, that's where that is.
Blizzard is just so Activision Blizzard is just becoming Activision basically.
Yeah. No. Blizzard is becoming Activision Blizzard essentially. Activision.
Right.
Activision.
Blizzard is, well, depending on...
Activision is not called Activision, it's called Activision Blizzard. Blizzard, the studio, is still called just Blizzard.
Right, but it's basically being taken over.
Yeah, by the Activision wing. And this is one of these scenarios where it's like, you build the company, you start the company, somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm going to give you some money to help run the company. And you're like, all right, well, you're not going to take over everything and force me out and destroy my entire life's work, are you? No, man, no. And then just every morning you go into work and they took another thing. They're controlling another thing. They've replaced another thing with them. And you're seeing your original employee list just every day. You're, where's Tommy? Oh, Tommy's not here anymore. What happened to Tommy? Oh, he got fired. How could he get fired? It's like, whatever. And it's just that repeating, snowballing effect that's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And it's terrible.
Too Tall 12 in the chat says, I guess what you were saying, Saib, is that Diablo 4 will not be very good at all, or take an even longer amount of time to finish.
There's a good chance, yeah. There's a good chance that it's going to be a garbage game. So I would highly, highly, highly caution anybody against getting their hopes up for that game. I'm still going to play WoW this winter. Still going to see where this new expansion goes. We're gonna try some stuff. We're gonna see what it's like. But increasingly, more and more, I'm afraid that I'm going to be watching a dumpster fire instead of something. Something that builds something up. I'm just going to be watching something burn down. So if you're interested in watching stuff burn down, head over to our Discord and we're going to start announcing when we're doing stuff like that. So, and then the last story you want to talk about was
there's a couple more things quickly we need to get through because we barely touched on our actual title story, which is about how EA was almost did purchase Bethesda. We don't know when this happened, but apparently Robert Altman has been looking at he's been thinking about selling the studio for a while.
He was, and this goes back to what I said months and months ago, that I'm like, hey guys, you want to know what's happening? Why 76 is the way it is? It's because they're getting ready to sell the company, ready to go public, and either public or sell it directly to a major buyer. And I said this again and again and again, that this was the main thing that was going on here, and that everybody had to keep their eyes on what was going on because it's going to get messy. And lo and behold, I was spot on. So this is like EA was in the running for this bidder, it would have been interesting to hear how they explained that one away. Oh yes, we always had fun with working with EA. In what capacity? Oh, we don't know. We don't know. It's a thing we're doing now. And
Yeah, no,
again, I suspect day one we would have had a patch that's like, all right, unless you buy this like microtransaction thing that's like 0.0001% chance drop rate and a $50 package giveaway, you can't use mods in any of the games. You have to do this for multiple games. Come on, guys, give us the money, give us the money, give us the money, because that's what EA would have done, and it disgusts me.
Could you imagine if they forced Bethesda to use the Frostbite engine?
Oh, I would have. I would have been like, oh well, they're never making a good game ever again. And I suspect, I've alluded to this multiple times. I suspect that the sale went to Microsoft because probably for a number of reasons, but factoring in the loss that they featured with 76 and how much they had said, oh, we're going to do this, and then we had to counteract because the boss said, oh, no, we're going to do this other thing that's going to make me more money, guys. Now get out there and make me more money. Like a coked up it's called an imp. An imp. I think I'm missing a consonant in there, maybe a P at the beginning of that. But yeah, the imp would be, go make me more money. Make me more money. That's my opinion of what the people who were running the 76th show behind the scenes.
So our condolences to those stuck in that alternate universe where EA does own Bethesda. Of course, my sources are also telling me that there was an alternate universe where EA is the greatest game company and Mass Effect Andromeda was a smash hit. But even in that universe, Fallout 76 still sucks.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, the Mass Effect trilogy, the rumored Mass Effect trilogy remaster. Now, if you Google Mass Effect remaster and filter it by news, you get all kinds of things. How Mass Effect remaster could redeem one of the central companions. That's a headline from GameRant. Forbes. The Mass Effect trilogy remaster does exist, but has been delayed. Mass Effect trilogy remaster listing pops up on Retailer. Mass Effect Legendary Edition is coming, but not this year. Bunch of other things. Mass Effect Normandy replica pre-order. Hints at remastered trilogy again. All kinds of... So, now, you're skeptical, though, Saib. Like, what... I am extremely
skeptical.
So where is everybody getting all this information, and why are you skeptical of it?
The only place I have heard of these rumors, the only place that these rumors that I've been hearing them go on and on and on, the only place and the only context and the only people that are talking about this stuff are YouTube commentators, personalities, people who make videos that need these clicks, or fans that just really, really want this to happen because they think that it'll resurrect the Mass Effect IP, which I hate to say it, but it's very close to being permanently dead. Like it's going to be one more thing that's going to break the camel's back, and this IP will never recover, ever. Like they will have to completely relaunch it under a new head, which will never happen because of the way that corporations work and ownership and all that kind of stuff works. So yeah, I sincerely doubt that this is going to happen because I have not heard this from anybody anywhere that has been talking about the developer side of things. This is only coming from the content creators that have something to gain by talking about this. And count me very cynical, extremely cynical about investigative journalists these days. I posted something in our Heroes chat the other day, which I can't mention here, but the amount of stupidity and arrogance from journalists is truly despicable when you find out and discover that sometimes they have a friend write an article, post it on a website, then they quote that thing so that they can essentially create a story that doesn't exist, that they don't have proof for. but they can just sit back and say, "Oh wow, then it was over here. It was reported over here," and sometimes you discover that they were the people who started the rumor to begin with, and so that's part of my cynicism on this. So I'm partially like very cynical as to whether or not this is actually going to be made and if it's actually going to work. And then I have a small thing in the back of my head that's saying, you know what, on top of that, I really don't think I have a hard time believing that that they're going to do this, because the biggest thing that I have is who's doing it? Who's doing it? Like, we don't have any actual like hardcore solid leaks to go by. Everything is secondhand. Everything you have to believe the person who's telling you. There's nothing actually physically available. The only stuff we've gotten showcases new worlds that we haven't been to before. So that means that either they're adding a ton of content to the game, or they're reimagining certain aspects of the game, which, I mean, do we really want that? Do we want to deal with that? Do we want a remake led by some clown who doesn't know what they're doing to the series? We've seen how that goes before. But yeah, where would they do this? Which BioWare studio is working on this? Because they've only got two. You've got Edmonton, you've got Austin, Texas. Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, or Austin, Texas, United States. Which of them are working on it? Because the Austin studio is skeleton crew, last I heard. And the Edmonton studio they are working overtime trying to get the next Dragon Age game done. And that thing was supposed to be out years ago. So frankly, I'm suggesting that I would like to believe it. Maybe I'm too cynical. Maybe it'll show up in the next 3 months and I'll be like, oh wow, I didn't see that one coming. But I'm for sure not seeing this one coming, because all of the rumors I'm getting are coming from reporters who are saying that they heard it from another reporter who said that they heard it from somebody. Nobody's actually coming out with an actual solid, like, we know that Starfield is a thing. We don't know much about Starfield, but we know that it's a thing. We know that there's other projects and other things that are going on. Do you really think that EA would be prepping to do a Mass Effect trilogy within the next 12 months and they wouldn't have created a trailer for it already? Like, do you really think that EA is going to do that? Now, you might say, oh, well, they did it for that one game. Okay, maybe, and maybe they're using the same tactic with this, but I kind of really doubt it. Because they haven't been doing that with any of their other titles. So, right. I don't know. I don't know what to say other than I don't believe it and I don't think it's real. And if it is, then it's being done by a very small studio that doesn't have a lot of experience, that doesn't have a lot of time or money, and it's probably going to be a very poor upgrade. It's going to be a very, very, very terrible upgrade, and especially the first game is going to suck. It's going to feel terrible.
Well, that is what's the rumor going around is that's why it got delayed, is the Mass Effect 1. They weren't happy with the upgrade to Mass Effect 1. But anyway, So you're skeptical. You're not completely discounting the possibility, but you just don't have anything solid to say that this actually exists.
And if it does exist, which, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't, but if it does exist, again, without original people having their hands on this, working on stuff, them building up or utilizing a new engine that they've not a new engine, but like a new engine to the series, something that they've perfected and increased, or maybe going back to one of their other engines that's far more upgraded now, without doing something from the ground up. I just don't see it. I don't see it. What are they going to be doing? Like, how are they going to make it? Like, they can remaster 2 and 3 maybe and add better graphics and stuff like that, but overall, I mean, number 1 is, I mean, that's dead in the water. That's a completely different engine, completely different tech, and it was a completely different experience. So,
all right, and that's our show for today. Thank you so much, everybody. for hanging out. Please do slam that like button if you haven't yet. We'd really appreciate that. The like button likes it rough, and it tells YouTube that you appreciate this content, and also especially thank you for listening. And, if you're listening after the fact, leave comments below if you are listening live or after the fact. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. We've got lots of great content coming. It's going to be a Star Wars Squadrons full review posted sometime in the next 12 hours. So hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell to get notified about that. So Obsidian will be streaming Baldur's Gate 3 and Genshin Impact this weekend. Lots of stuff coming up, so you don't want to miss that. Special thank you to our Patreon supporters and our channel members who helped to make this content possible. Our big damn heroes on Patreon: Robin, Shua82, Timebean, Schoolaman, Lady Reaver, Drecodan, and our 2 anonymous supporters on that tier on Patreon. Our channel members here on YouTube: Mr. Pazernick, Jer Schultz, Game Notes, Night City Punk, Terror K, and Somnolence. Thank you so much, and thank you also if you're listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms. There's a bit of a delay getting the podcast up to the audio platforms, so if you want the latest info sooner, head to the Triple S League YouTube channel and subscribe there. Listen to the live podcast Wednesdays and Saturdays. All right, the Augmented Reality podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Obsidian, thank you all so much for listening. We'll talk to you again very soon.